You have a great-great-grandmother you share with a mushroom. That is not poetry. That is biology. On this planet, there are an estimated 8.7 million species. Bacteria that survive in boiling volcanic vents, trees that live for 5,000 years, whales, tardigrades, orchids, humans, all of them wildly different, all of them sharing the same genetic code. In 1859, a British naturalist named Charles Darwin published the explanation. On the origin of species, it is the most consequential scientific idea in the history of biology. You have almost certainly heard the phrase, survival of the fittest. Darwin did not coin that phrase. Herbert Spencer did. And it is deeply misleading. Evolution is not about strength. It is not about competition. It is about one thing, reproduction. Here is the actual mechanism. Imagine a population of rabbits. Some are slightly faster, some are slightly slower. A fox hunts the slower ones. The faster rabbits survive and reproduce. Their offspring inherit the speed. Over generations, the population becomes faster, not because rabbits chose to be faster, because slower rabbits left fewer offspring. This is natural selection. Darwin's core insight. Individuals with traits better suited to their environment reproduce more. Their traits become more common in the next generation. Repeat this process for millions of years, and you get every species that has ever lived on Earth. But natural selection needs raw material to work with. That raw material is mutation. Every time DNA is copied, small errors occur. Most mutations are harmless. Some are harmful. A very few are beneficial. A beneficial mutation gets passed on. Over time, it spreads through the population. Natural selection is the filter. Mutation is the fuel. The third ingredient is time. 4 billion years of time. To understand what 4 billion years means, if the entire history of Earth were compressed into a single year, modern humans would appear at 11:36 p.m. on December 31st. We have been here for less than 24 minutes of a 365-day year. Evolution has been working for the entire year. The fossil record shows us evolution in progress. We can trace the lineage of whales back to a small land mammal that entered the sea 50 million years ago. We can watch horse ancestors change shape across 50 million years of fossils. We can see the transition from fish to land animal preserved in rock in species that had both gills and primitive lungs. But fossils are just one line of evidence. DNA tells the same story with more precision. Compare the genome of a human and a chimpanzee. They share 98.8% of their DNA. Compare human DNA to a mouse, 85% identical. Compare it to a banana, 60%. Every one of these similarities is a record of shared ancestry. All of life on Earth is related. Every species traces back to a single common ancestor that lived approximately 3.8 billion years ago. Scientists call it LUCA, the last universal common ancestor. From that single organism, the tree of life branched. Bacteria, fungi, plants, animals, every living thing on Earth is a twig on the same tree. Darwin's finches are the textbook example. When Darwin visited the Galapagos Islands, he found 14 species of finch, all clearly related, all clearly different. Different beaks, different diets, different niches. They had all descended from a single ancestor that reached the islands millions of years ago. Isolated on different islands, they evolved separately to fill different ecological roles. the same species, 14 different outcomes. This process is called speciation. When two populations of the same species become isolated, they accumulate different mutations. Over enough time, those differences become so large that the two populations can no longer interbreed. They are now two different species. That is how 8.7 million species emerged from one. Evolution is not something that only happened in the past. It is happening right now, in hospitals around the world. When antibiotics kill a bacterial population, a few bacteria may carry a mutation that makes them resistant. Those bacteria survive. They reproduce. Their offspring are all resistant. Within weeks, a population of bacteria can evolve complete resistance to an antibiotic it has never encountered before. We can watch it happen in real time under a microscope. Antibiotic resistance is evolution, happening in days, not millions of years. You can also see evolution in your living room. Every dog breed on Earth descended from wolves. In roughly 15,000 years, an eye blink in evolutionary time, selective breeding produced Great Danes and Chihuahuas. Both are the same species. Both are wolves that humans guided through artificial selection. If humans can do that in 15,000 years, imagine 4 billion. One of the most elegant pieces of evidence is vestigial structures. Whales have hip bones inside their bodies. They do not use them. Humans have a coccyx, the remnant of a tail. Snakes have the remnants of legs embedded in their skeletons. These are evolutionary leftovers, structures that made sense in an ancestor but are no longer needed. No designer would include useless parts. But evolution does, because it can only modify what already exists. The eye is often raised as a challenge to evolution. How could something so complex evolve gradually? The answer is simple. We have the fossil record of eye evolution, primitive light-sensitive patches in ancient organisms, then simple cups that could detect direction, then lenses, then full eyes. Every intermediate stage exists or existed, and every stage provided a survival advantage over no eye at all. Right now, in your body, evolution is still happening. Every time your cells divide, mutations occur. Your immune system evolves in real time, generating billions of different antibody variants to find the one that fits an invading pathogen. Your body runs natural selection in miniature every single day to keep you alive. Evolution also explains why we are the way we are, why humans crave sugar and fat, because in an ancestral environment, those were scarce and valuable. Why we fear snakes and spiders more than cars, because snakes and spiders were deadly for millions of years before cars existed. Why we have wisdom teeth, an appendix, and goosebumps. All remnants of ancestral adaptations that no longer serve their original purpose. Your body is a museum of your evolutionary history. There is a common misconception that evolution has a direction, that it moves toward complexity, toward intelligence, toward humans. It does not. Evolution moves toward reproductive fitness in a given environment. That is all. A tapeworm is just as evolved as a human. It is simply perfectly adapted to a very different environment. Evolution has no foresight. It cannot plan. It cannot anticipate. Every mutation is random. Selection acts on what exists now, not what might be useful later. This is why the human spine is poorly designed for walking upright. It was originally adapted for walking on 4 legs and was repurposed imperfectly for bipedalism. Evolution is not an engineer. It is a tinkerer. It works with what it has. Modern humans, Homo sapiens, evolved in Africa approximately 300,000 years ago. From there, they spread across the planet. Different populations accumulated different mutations. Skin pigmentation adapted to different levels of UV radiation. Lactose tolerance evolved independently in populations that domesticated cattle. All of this happened in the last blink of evolutionary time. The most profound implication of evolution is this: life did not need a blueprint. 3 simple ingredients, variation, selection, and time, are sufficient to produce every living thing on Earth. Bacteria, redwood trees, human brains capable of understanding their own evolution. All of it from 3 ingredients operating for 4 billion years. But evolution has now met a new force. For the first time in the 4 billion year history of life, a species has gained the ability to edit its own genome. CRISPR allows us to rewrite DNA with a precision that natural selection could never achieve. We can eliminate genetic diseases, modify organisms, potentially direct our own evolution. Whether that is progress or something far more dangerous, that is the subject of the next episode. Evolution, the most powerful idea in biology. 3 ingredients, 4 billion years, every living thing. If this changed how you see life, subscribe to Knowable. Drop a comment below. What is the most surprising thing you learned today? New science explainers every week. See you next time.